$175 worth of Copic markers. If you ever wanted to know what that looks like, well, this is it. What's up guys, it's time for a drawing video. I'm super excited to show you my Copic marker set. It's right here, and the reason it's so exciting is that it's bloody expensive. These things cost like $5 per marker. There's 36 markers in here. It's $175 worth of markers. And I don't think this is the set that everyone's going to want, but this is the set that I think is quite useful to have. Sorry, I just can't stop looking at them. Alright, so let's have a look at these gorgeous Copic markers. This is the sketch version. They've also got a slightly cheaper one, which I don't know if it has any fewer features really, but the features are just slightly different. They're called Copic Chow. But these are slightly more expensive ones, Copic Sketch, and I think the main thing about these markers is that they've got this really wide, hard edge brush here on the side, and on the other side, they've got a nice soft brush tip that you can use. It really feels like a paintbrush. From the outside, yes, they look like marker pens, but you use them a lot more like a paintbrush. You can see it actually has a lot of fine variation. You can use the tip of the brush to make very small lines, or you can push really hard and get a nice thick line. It really does feel like a paintbrush, but you don't need to keep dipping it into the ink. I'll start by briefly explaining what this random assortment of colors actually means. Now for me, it's really important to be able to draw characters. Of course, drawing backgrounds is important, but you don't have to draw backgrounds if it's not your job, right? You can just draw whatever you want, and because it's not my job, I'm just going to draw whatever I want, and that's characters. So, in order to draw characters, usually if you're drawing human characters, you want skin tones that are going to be useful for drawing human characters, and that's what basically this selection of colors here is. Obviously, if you're drawing Dragon Ball comics and you've got Nameks in them, then you'll need green colors. But if you're drawing generally Earth human people characters, these tend to be the colors that I think I'm going to be using the most. E50, eggshell, E51, milky white, E00, cotton pearl, E02, fruit pink, E33, sand, E35, chamois. I've got a second one of these because I kind of forgot that I already owned it when I bought it. And an E47, this is dark brown. I feel like drawing with these watercolor pens, these Copic markers, it just feels so forgiving because you draw something and you're like, oh no, I've made it a little bit too dark, but you can always kind of count on the pens to lighten up to a more usable color later, and then if you need to make them darker, you can go over them for a second layer, or you can add a different color and blend them together, and it won't look really weird and gross. They'll actually, these pens are designed for the inks to blend together. Generally speaking, you're going to want two colors for almost like everything you do. I mean, obviously there are plenty of ways to draw with only a single color, but I feel like half the joy of drawing with Copic markers is going over again with a different color. So for example, really briefly, if let's say that I've got someone with a moderately light skin tone and this is their face, you know, this is kind of a face shape. Let's say I want to have some shading on top of that. I can just look at the top tips of these pens and see, okay, I think this color is going to make a fairly good shade. I'll put some shading on this side of their face and just blend it in like so. And then let's say I want a slightly less harsh gradation over here. Maybe I'll choose another color like the E51 Milky White. Maybe, in fact, is this the pen I just used actually? I can use the same pen again maybe and actually just blend it in between here. And you know, it's kind of, you can see the alcohol starts reacting and going into the ink while it's still kind of wet and helps the inks kind of blend together. Anyway, that is the skin tone. In the words of the Muppets, moving straight along, that's not true, moving right along. The main ones I want to start before I go into the rainbow colors is the neutral tones and the colorless blender. These pens are the ones that I might use for shading or going over outlines or making other colors darker in general. The idea for me was that even if I don't have all the colors that I want, let's say that I had this light blue, if I color with the light blue, I kind of had it in my mind that I might be able to use these neutral grays to just go over and make this color a little bit darker. You can see very vaguely there, like there's a darker tint of blue here and a lighter tint here. There's different levels of neutral gray, and you can mix and match. So even this area here, let's say I want this skin to be a little bit darker on this side, you can use the gray and make it a little bit darker. The thing is, it does drag it a little bit closer to the monochrome spectrum, so it's like it loses a bit of its saturation. N1, neutral gray number 1. C4, cool gray number 4. N3, neutral gray number 3. And the darkest one I own, special black 110. Sorry, I just did that demonstration with the camera out of focus. N1 is a very light gray. The N3 is a much darker gray. And this one, the C4, is kind of dark. It's like slightly darker gray, but it's got more of a blue tint or purple tint. And last but not least, I've got 110 special black. Now the last one I was going to show you, this one's kind of special. It's not really a gray pen, and in fact you can see it looks kind of translucent in color. And the idea of this is not to be a coloring pen that you would actually color in with. What you would do is you would lay down some other colors first, and then you would use this to make it wet so that it can be blended with other colors. So as you can see, it's adding more and more of this colorless blender to this what used to be a really dark color, but now it has become light. If you want to take something, pull something back a little bit, you can just add to the edge here, make a gradient if you want, a gradation away from the edges. Or another thing you can do is actually take a pen like so, add a bit of colorless blender to it, and then before it dries you can mix in some other color like this gray. And I think the idea behind the colorless blender is it will help you blend these colors together. Now it's time to show you the rest of the pens. Now I don't think it's really necessary to demonstrate them all. What you can probably see here is that there are some greens, some blues, some reds, some yellows, and that was the idea behind choosing this selection of colors. I basically went for the basic primary colors, but at least two gradations, two variants of each color. So if we start with the greens first, you can see I've got G21 and also a G24. They are lime green and willow. I'm just draw a really basic t-shirt here. Now let's say you want to have some shading to make it look three-dimensional. That's when the slightly darker color will come in, and I've got the darker color that I can add in the underside of the arm or under the sleeve. I've also got something called yellow green, which is a slightly more saturated looking green. YG13, which is a yellow green 13 chartreuse, and I've got the yellow green 17 grass green. I've actually got three different blues. I've got B00 frost blue, I've got B02 robin's egg blue, and I've got B04 Tahitian blue. In between the blues and the greens, I've actually got a separate pen. This is because I wanted to draw Hatsune Miku and Hatsune Miku hair, and I just love teal. My main Nihongo Gamer channel, like teal is just the main color that I've chosen for a lot of things. Blue green 11, moon white, and BG13 mint green. Also got a much darker blue just for doing shading on all of them, and this is the B37 Antwerp blue. I've got some yellow pens and yellow-red pens, Y11 and Y13. They are pale yellow and lemon yellow. I've got yellows that look a little bit closer to orange. This is Y35 maize and Y38 honey. And then this one, which is supposedly like between the yellow and the red spectrum, this is light reddish yellow. We only have a few more markers to go. For the main red colors, I've actually got three. I've got R14, R22, and R24. Now they look a little bit strange because it looks like actually I've got two markers and a pink, but numbers wise, they actually go straight in a line like this. R14 light rouge, R22 light prawn, and R24 prawn. And I would categorize these as my purple colors. Well, obviously this one is a very pink color. I think I may have chosen this one specifically because it's going to be useful for people's lips or just on their cheeks, just adding some pinkness here and there. RV00 Water Lily. And these purple colors I've got here, they're actually technically called BV, which I suppose is blue violet. BV02, this is prune. BV04, blueberry. And BV13, hydrangea blue. Now what I think I'm going to do to finish off this video is just draw a single line of each pen. Alright, so that is essentially all of the pens. This is not an in-depth video, didn't really get to show you all the different things that these pens can do. It's not meant to be an all-inclusive Copic everything master video. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to comment, like it, subscribe to the channel if you want to see more, but most importantly, I want to know, what do you want to see next? Do you want me to actually draw an illustration using these pens, or do you just want to see more demonstrations of what these pens look like when they're blended together? $175 worth of Copic markers. If you ever wanted to know what that looks like, well, this is it.